Welcome to Let's English Stories you can enjoy anytime, anywhere. Today's story takes us deep into the hot sands of Egypt, nearly 100 years ago. There, under the sun and dust of the Valley of the Kings, a British archaeologist named Howard Carter was searching for something he wasn't even sure existed. Most experts believed everything had already been found, but Carter believed there was still a hidden tomb, untouched for thousands of years. What happened next became one of the most exciting discoveries in history. This is a story about mystery, patience, and a moment when the past came to life again. It's also a story about human curiosity, the kind that keeps people digging, searching, and wondering even when others say it's time to give up. So sit back, relax, or take a walk, and join us as we go back to 1922, to the day when the door to the ancient world was opened again. The year was 1917. The First World War was still going on, and the world was full of worry and loss. But in Egypt, far from the sound of guns and battles, one man was thinking about something else entirely. His name was Howard Carter, and he was an archaeologist. Someone who searched for the remains of ancient history buried in the ground. Carter had spent years digging in the hot sands of the Valley of the Kings, a desert place near the Nile River where many ancient Egyptian rulers were buried. Most people believed that all the important tombs had already been discovered. But Carter was sure there was one more. The tomb of a little-known boy king named Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun had died very young, around the age of 18. He wasn't as famous as Ramses or other great pharaohs, and because of that, his tomb might have been missed, even forgotten. But Carter believed it was still there, hidden beneath the sand. For years he searched. Day after day, he and his team dug under the hot sun. They found broken pieces of pottery, small statues, and even old tools, but never the tomb. The people funding his work were growing tired. They began to think it was all a waste of time and money. By 1922, Carter was almost out of time. His sponsor, Lord Carnarvon, had agreed to pay for just one more season of digging. If they didn't find anything that year, it would all be over. Then, one morning in November, something changed. A young boy from the digging team was carrying water when he noticed a hard edge in the sand. It looked like a step. They called Carter immediately. Carefully, they cleared away the sand. More steps appeared leading down into the earth. At the bottom was a sealed doorway, marked with strange symbols, the ancient writing of the pharaohs. Carter's hands were shaking. This was it. He was sure of it. But he didn't open the door right away. Instead, he sent a message to Lord Carnarvon in England. At last, have made wonderful discovery in Valley. A magnificent tomb with seals intact. Recovered same for your arrival. Congratulations. It took weeks for Carnarvon to arrive. When he finally reached Egypt, Carter led him to the tomb. Together, they opened the sealed door. Behind it was a dark corridor filled with rocks and dust. They cleared it slowly, step by step. And then, on the 26th of November, 1922, they reached another sealed door. Carter made a small hole in the top and held up a candle. The warm light flickered, and through the hole he saw something that took his breath away. Golden statues, strange animals, fine boxes, everywhere the shine of gold. Behind him, Carnarvon asked, "Can you see anything?" Carter whispered, "Yes, wonderful things. Howard Carter and Lord Carnarvon stood in silence, staring through the small hole. After years of searching, digging, and hoping, they had found something no one had seen for over 3,000 years. It was a royal tomb, and from the golden objects inside, it was clear. This tomb was untouched. The next few days were filled with careful work. They had to move slowly, brushing away dust with tiny tools, documenting every object they found. Nothing could be touched until it was photographed and recorded. Even the smallest mistake could destroy something ancient and irreplaceable. Inside the first chamber, they found hundreds of beautiful objects: golden chairs, chests filled with jewelry, statues of gods, painted boxes, and even a chariot. Each item was a piece of a lost world, perfectly preserved under the sand. But there was something more. Behind another wall, Carter believed, was the burial chamber, the place where the boy king Tutankhamun himself lay. That part was still sealed. It had to be opened carefully, in front of officials from the Egyptian government. In February 1923, after months of preparation, the moment finally arrived. Carter stood in front of the final door with his team and several officials watching closely. With steady hands, he opened the last seal and stepped into the darkness. What he saw was both beautiful and heartbreaking. In the center of the chamber was a great golden shrine. Inside it were smaller shrines, one after another, like a Russian doll. And in the very middle, at last, was a stone coffin. Inside that was the mummy of Tutankhamun. He had been buried with care and honor. Around him were golden amulets, flowers, and weapons for the afterlife. His face was covered by a stunning gold mask, the one that would later become world famous. For Carter, it was the greatest moment of his life. All the long years of digging, all the doubts and failures, they had led to this. He had brought the past back into the light. News of the discovery spread quickly. The world was amazed. Newspapers, from London to New York, printed stories of the boy king's tomb. Thousands of people lined up to see the photographs. Ancient Egypt had captured the modern world's imagination. But with fame came problems. Some people argued that Carter had taken treasures that belonged to Egypt. Others warned about a strange curse, because soon after entering the tomb, Lord Carnarvon fell ill and died. Whether it was coincidence or something else, the legend of the tomb's curse only made the story more famous. People were fascinated not just by the gold, but by the mystery. Who was Tutankhamun? Why was he buried in such a small tomb? And why was it never found until now? Howard Carter never found another tomb like it. But he didn't need to. His discovery changed archaeology forever. It reminded the world that there were still wonders hiding beneath our feet, just waiting to be found. Even after the tomb was opened, the work was far from over. In fact, the real challenge was just beginning. Howard Carter and his team had to remove more than 5,000 objects from the tomb, each one fragile, covered in dust, and thousands of years old. They worked slowly and carefully. Every item had to be cleaned, described, sketched, and packed safely for study. Some were simple things like food or sandals. Others were treasures, gold rings, carved animals, or strange tools meant for the afterlife. The process took more than 10 years. Carter returned to the tomb again and again, documenting each piece with great care. He believed that everything, even a broken cup or a faded cloth, could tell a story. Meanwhile, the world couldn't get enough of Tutankhamun. Books were written, Lectures were given, and museums asked to borrow artifacts for exhibitions. People wore jewelry inspired by the tomb. Even Hollywood made movies about mummies and curses. But not everyone was happy. Some Egyptians felt that too many of their treasures were leaving the country. Others said that Egypt's ancient history was being controlled by outsiders. These feelings would grow stronger in the years to come. Carter tried to be respectful. He argued that the tomb's contents should stay in Egypt. But legal battles followed. Some objects were held in storage for years. It was a complicated situation, part science, part politics. Through it all, Carter remained focused on his work. He wasn't seeking fame. He rarely gave interviews. He simply wanted to understand who Tutankhamun was and what his tomb could tell the world. He learned that the boy king came to power at just 9 years old. His reign was short and mysterious. Some believed he was sickly. Others thought he was caught between powerful families and priests. His tomb, though small, was rich in beauty, perhaps because he died suddenly. In 1932, 10 years after the tomb was found, Carter's work was complete. The chambers were empty. The treasures were in museums. The story had been told, at least as much as could be known. Howard Carter died in 1939. He never married. He had no children. His life had been dedicated to one thing: uncovering the mystery of an ancient king. And in that mission, he had succeeded. Today, the story of Tutankhamun still fascinates people all over the world. His golden mask is one of the most recognized images in history. And deep in the desert of Egypt, the tomb still lies in the Valley of the Kings, a reminder of a discovery that changed the world. In the years after Carter's discovery, Egypt became a place of fascination for travelers, scholars, and dreamers. People from around the world came to see the land of the pharaohs, hoping to feel the mystery of the ancient world for themselves. Hotels were built near Luxor. Tourists rode camels past ancient temples. Local guides told stories of curses and lost treasures. The fame of Tutankhamun brought both money and attention, and Egypt's long history returned to the global stage. But it also started a new conversation. Many Egyptians asked, "Why are our treasures in museums far away? Shouldn't they come home?" These questions grew louder over time, and the world began to listen. In recent decades, Egypt has worked hard to bring its history home. Some famous objects, including statues and jewelry from Tutankhamun's tomb, have been returned. Others are still part of international debates between museums and governments. To protect their heritage, Egypt began building new museums. The most famous is the Grand Egyptian Museum near the pyramids in Giza. It will hold thousands of artifacts, and at its heart will be the full collection from Tutankhamun's tomb. Modern technology has also helped. With CT scans and DNA testing, scientists have learned more about the young king. His body showed signs of health problems: a broken leg, malaria, and a curved spine. It seemed he lived a difficult life, even as a ruler. New studies also suggest that his tomb was never meant for him. The walls were painted in a hurry. The design was small for a king. Some believe he died so suddenly that there was no time to build a grand resting place. He was buried in what was available, and that may be why his tomb was hidden so well. Even now, a century later, new questions continue to appear. Were there secret rooms behind the tomb's walls? Was Nefertiti, another royal figure, once buried nearby? Scans have given mixed results, and the mystery lives on. Tutankhamun's story has become more than just a discovery. It's a symbol, a reminder that the past is never truly gone, that the sands of time can hide wonders, and that curiosity can change history. For every visitor who stands before the golden mask, there is a moment of silence, a quiet connection to someone who lived and died over 3,000 years ago. And for many, it all started with one man and a single step uncovered in the sand. It's easy to think of history as something silent, just dates and facts written in old books. But when Howard Carter stood in front of the sealed door in 1922, history was not silent. It was waiting for someone to notice, waiting for someone who believed that the past still mattered, waiting, quietly, beneath the sand. The moment Carter looked through that hole and whispered, "Yes, wonderful things," the world seemed to pause. For the first time in centuries, eyes looked again into a world that had been closed, buried, and forgotten. That moment still lives in every photo of the Golden Mask, in every museum that tells the story, in every child who first hears the name Tutankhamun and wonders who he was. We often forget how strange time really is. Thousands of years pass, lives rise and fall, cities are built and lost. But under the right layer of sand, a single room can survive it all. That's what Tutankhamun's tomb was, a room frozen in time. The gold was beautiful, yes, but even more powerful was the feeling, the sense that someone so long ago had stood in that room before you, and then vanished. The objects inside weren't just treasure. They were memories. His sandals, his walking sticks, his painted toy animals. All things meant to travel with him into the next world, and now speaking, quietly, in this one. People sometimes say ancient history is too far away, too distant to care about. But the story of this tomb proves something else. It shows that we still feel wonder, that even across centuries, we still recognize beauty, loss, and mystery. The boy king died young. He ruled for less than a decade. He left no great writings, no famous battles, no pyramid of stone. And yet, he became the most famous pharaoh of all, not because of power, but because of presence. Because in a forgotten tomb, something human remained, something that crossed time and spoke to us. Today, visitors from every part of the world come to see his treasures. They walk slowly through glass halls, reading the names of gods, staring at the gold, imagining the life of a young ruler who lived and died so long ago. And somewhere, maybe, they feel the same thing Carter did. Not just excitement, not just curiosity, but something quieter, deeper, a connection across time. Tutankhamun became a window, not just into Egypt, but into ourselves, into what we save, what we remember, what we hope will last. 100 years later, the tomb still gives us more than gold. It gives us a reason to listen, to wonder, to believe that the past is not gone. It's only sleeping, quietly, beneath the sand. So the next time you walk through a museum or see a photo of the Golden Mask, pause for a moment. Somewhere, across centuries, a voice is still whispering. I was here. I lived. I mattered. Thank you for listening. What did you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you have an idea for a story you'd like to hear next, let me know.